First, I want to thank everybody for joining us for the first edition of DTK Sports, and I'm fortunate enough to have actually like a hidden gem here in the city of Indianapolis that a lot of people don't know about, of his prowess in the athletic world, but also in the community here in Indianapolis. Welcome, Mike Pryor. Appreciate you, brother.
No, thanks, Dino. Great to be here.
We have the fortune of coaching together here at Cathedral. You coach the DBs and I coach the receivers, and we kind of join forces and do the whole punt return, kick return thing. So it's a pleasure. You've got a little bit of history, and we talked off camera a little bit about your history and how you got here. But before we get into that, I wanna kind of like touch upon some of your career achievements and highlights. There's a lot of people don't know that you spent 13 years in the league, and you had 35 interceptions in your career, and I think it was 440 tackles. That's a lot of tackles. I'm sorry, 691 tackles. I'm sorry. I didn't want to cheat you out of the 250 some odd tackles, Mike. 7 forced fumbles, and you got yourself a Super Bowl ring. Talk about how that came to be.
That was a long road coming from, it took me 12 years in the league to finally get to that Super Bowl. But, when I moved up to Green Bay and was there 6 years, and it took 4 years in Green Bay, and that's got to Green Bay, and that's when Brett was a rookie, basically a rookie, his first year starting. Yeah. Brett Favre, and we had a guy named Reggie White out there. Wasn't good. We had some
Minister of Defense.
That's right. We had some great defenses and good leadership from veterans and young guys coming in, filling in voids, and it was just great camaraderie team.
Dilfer, deep for Rod Thomas, incomplete, intercepted by Mike Pryor.
That was probably one of the closest teams where a high school atmosphere.
Really?
Where the guys got along. There wasn't like, for playing 13 years or 12 years in the league at that time, it was like, we were on a lot of teams that there was a lot of fighting and doing things in the locker room, off the field, on the field and stuff. But this was one team that got it together, and everybody stuck behind each other, and when we had adversity, the guys had each other's backs and picked it up. So, no, it was a great experience to finally get in there and winning it.
So you take that 12-year journey. Let's go all the way back. Where are you originally from?
I'm from Chicago Heights, Illinois.
Chicago Heights. And what high school did you go to?
Marian Catholic.
Marian Catholic, another. So you're Catholic through and through. That's fantastic. And so in high school at Marian Catholic, I understand you played 3 sports: football, baseball, and wrestling.
That's correct.
And what sport was your favorite sport? Not necessarily your best sport. What was your favorite sport?
Favorite was probably baseball. Okay. Just because it was the easiest for me. You didn't really, you didn't have to worry about the workouts really. And everything. That was a part of it. Wrestling was probably the best sport for me at the time to get me ready for football and other sports. Just really, it was a tough sport, but it helped you out getting limber and doing moves, tackling for football. That was the toughest sport. Football I loved. It was great, the camaraderie with the team. That was the best team sport I had. Baseball was just, I liked to play it. And in high school, up in the south side of Chicago, it was like the high school season wasn't that long. I played 12 games.
So was it a good football team? Because the season here at Cathedral, and this is my 3rd year here, the expectation is to go deep in the playoffs. So we've been fortunate the last couple of years, and it is a grind. Were you guys on that level?
We were close. Basically, what the school probably only opened up in 63, the year I was born, or whatever, or a couple of years before that, and it had some good programs, but the school never made the playoffs yet. In Illinois, you have to win your division. We were in Illini 8. We had Southern School, Joliet Catholic, that was kind of running the roost there. But we ended up our senior year. Our guys got together. We didn't have an off-season workout program for football back then, and a group of us seniors, we got together and we did our own workouts. In the morning, got up, worked out, went out to the field, threw the ball around. and we made the playoffs that year. Made it to the semi-state and choked.
Now, was that like just the players amongst themselves, the senior leaders, to say, hey, this is what we're going to do, or was that something that was more pushed on you guys or encouraged by your coaches?
No, it was the players.
Okay.
It was probably our quarterback, who was probably about 5'9". It was Tom Klubchak. He ended up going out to Dartmouth and played. He had older brothers played, but he just wanted to get together and happened to have one of the guys on our roster, Dan Waldron. He had some weights at his house. So he had a bench and weights, and it's like, hey, this is great, own weight room, we'll go over there. So it was like, I'd hop on a bike, ride about 4 miles there, get a little workout in, get another workout in at the house, and go out to a field. So, we had about 10 to 15 guys always show up and do things. And I think that camaraderie on a team helped us through the season.
Well, when you hear I've heard coaches, older coaches, some of my mentors say, when your best players are your hardest workers, you got a chance to win. So, and be successful. Whether it comes out with a championship, success looks looks differently in different situations, but it sounds like you guys' core group was pretty special.
It was good. It was a lot of fun. And everybody, if you did something wrong, they
hold you accountable.
Oh, yeah.
I believe in holding players and each other, teammates, accountable. That's huge. That's huge. Because if you don't, I have my own thought about some of the players today in different sports, and it's somebody else's fault mentality, and I got to be catered to. But if you have your teammates holding each other accountable, it makes for a different atmosphere and environment on your team.
Oh, definitely, it does.
So, as a baseball player, you say that was your best sport because it came easy for you.
I think it was probably my best. 388 through college. It was just it was just more fun, I guess. In high school I was a pitcher too. I pitched and I played outfield. So when I wasn't pitching, I was playing center field, and it was exciting getting up to the plate.
Now, what kind of hitter were you? Were you a power hitter? Were you hit all over?
I did both. I hit it, through probably younger years, high school and stuff. I didn't want to strike out, so I was going to hit the ball anywhere, and I probably hit most right center, but I had the power to take it deep too. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until really college, which I didn't get to play my freshman year because they wanted me I had to go spring football, which was fine because I figured I'd go back home and play some semi-pro during the summer and play a lot of games. So missed that year. So sophomore year started, and the head coach had me batting fourth. Mm-hmm. First game, and we haven't had any games or anything. It's just what we did inside in a batting cage, playing right field, which I was upset, but there was a senior playing center field, so I could live with that. But had me batting fourth, and it's like,
that's a money spot right there, man.
Yeah, I want to bet. Well, the guy in front of me was the leading home run hitter.
Oh.
He was he was great. Lenny Wade, he was a great player, and. But I was just happy. I was playing because football coach said if I wasn't starting, I'm back for spring football, and I didn't want to miss that opportunity. But so we went down to spring break, spring trip game, and I came out, I had batting fourth. I think I probably only had about 3 homers on that trip, but I was batting over 500 coming back.
Okay.
And it was funny because then I got into a slump, and after we come back and. We had a coach, Niles Nyman, who was our assistant coach, and he looked at me and, because Mike, you're in a slump now, and I didn't want to say anything earlier, but
like he needed to tell you it's like, I'm the one up here at plate. I know what's going on here.
Right. He's in a slump, and I don't know how you were hitting the ball. He goes, your technique and stuff is off. I've never been coached how to hit the ball or anything. You just kind of self-learn, and. He's like, why do you have a close stance so much? I don't know. That's what I've always done my whole life. I've watched the guys on TV and stuff, and so I go that way. And he's like, okay, well, you're getting jammed a lot, and open up your hips a little bit, and don't hold the bat so hard. Loosen up a little bit. Okay. And I tell you, I used that my next 3 years, and I tell you, it helped. Because I only ended up got me out of the slump. Ended up hitting 398 that year, and only ended with 7 homers. But it wasn't until my senior year I decided, drop the shoulder a little bit and take it deep, and I ended up with 19 my senior year. So I just want to hit the ball, get on base, and depending, I got to bat third. My junior and senior year, the coach finally put me down there, and I got to play center field. But it's just more comfortable with the guys. Baseball is a whole different group of guys out there that you play with. It's a lot of fun. There's just too much time in the dugout. Guys goofing around because when you're on the offense, you only got one guy up there hitting, and if you're not on the bases. But no, that's what I loved about the sport. Just getting up to the plate every time. You against the pitcher,
right?
And then you hit a ball. You hit a nice line hard shot, and it's caught. And then
it pisses you off.
Some good things that it's like, oh man, I hit a good one there. But then you also get some cheap hits off the bat handle, and
so it all evens out, really. If you get enough looks, it all evens out.
It does, and so that's why I say it was just easy to do, and I guess you're playing games all the time instead of practicing.
Right.
And you can get your own practice in before practice. You're getting your batting practice, your fielding practice, but football's a grind, but it's great game day.
So you're in college. You're at Southern Illinois, Illinois State, and why that school?
They're the only school that wanted me.
That's hard to believe, man.
I had it was Coach Bob Otolsky. It was his first year coaching, and so it was probably in mid-February. I hadn't had any calls, looks. I had Northern Illinois looked at me a little bit. Coach named Bill Mallory came in.
Oh, Bill Mallory?
Bill Mallory, and I was wrestling right then, and so he came in when he saw me. I was cutting a little weight. I was only about 165 anyways by the time football season got over. So I was going down to 155 to certify. And he came in and saw me that week, and he kind of told the coach and me that I was too skinny and small to play for a program like them.
Did you know that he said that? Or did you find that out later?
I found that out later from, our head coach and stuff. I said, oh, okay. But it was funny. Years later, I ended up golfing after a few years with the Colts. I think after I was retired, golfed in a golf outing down in Bloomington with him. He was on my team and kind of brought that up to him. And he's like, yeah, Mike, we all make mistakes. And I could agree with him. Yeah, I could agree with him. It's like, hey, you see this, probably 5'11", 155-pound kid, skinny, whatever. It's like, hey, he's not going to fill into it. But at the time, though, I was still, my senior year, I was still only, I just turned 17.
Right.
So, in that November, so it was like, I guess I was still young, which I didn't realize I was that young until I was in college, and I was getting to start my first game in college at safety, and you finally getting interviewed, and they're asking you, oh, how's it feel? You're only 17, and it's like, I'm in college now.
Right.
I'm going up against these guys now. I'm just, you're going to the next level. It's like, okay, it's just like, I'd always do that when I was young. My older brother, he was 3 years older than me. If I saw him take his glove, hop on his bike, it was like, okay, I'd have to tell him. Because, Michael, you're not coming. You're not playing with us. We're not playing with the old guys.
Yes, I am.
And I'd be like, okay, so I'd have to let him get a little lead, and then I'd get on there and follow him. And I'd show up and stand behind the backstop, because you knew there'd always be one more guy. Because there's always uneven numbers, and it'd be like, he's like, crap. Okay, get over here. You're going to play. So it's like, all right, good.
So you used to playing with older guys.
Yeah. It was fun, and it was easy. It was like, these guys know what they're doing. They can catch the ball. They can throw it. It was fun. It was fun to me, even though, maybe we lost. It was competitive. I hated losing. Right. So it was like, hey, but I want the competition. This is fun.
Playing up in most sports is usually a good thing. Not always, but playing up does have a lot of benefits. So now you're at Illinois State. You got football and baseball. How did you manage that load? How did you manage that day to day as a college student. I'm playing this sport, and then I'm gonna play this sport, and I got to get my studies in. How did you manage all that?
It's a lot of time management, and I tell you, you have to budget your time wisely. So it was like I had a lot of 8 a.m., 9 a.m. classes. So you're starting up and making sure I got done about 1 o'clock every day. So each semester was like you had to make sure you got your scheduling with the classes. And baseball was a little bit harder. You know, football was easy because you basically you had the same schedule week in, week out. When you got to baseball, you had some games during the week. So you really have to talk to professors. Okay, I'm missing class. What do you need me to do and things? So it's really, and that helped in a ways because it's like you got to communicate to your professors. These kids don't, you know, they're just going to blow off class. No, talk to your professor. This is why I'm missing. What do I have to do to make up? How to catch up? And when you do show up in class, hey, raise your hand.
Yeah.
Talk, communicate. Those guys helped you. And had this government class that there's only 10 people in the class. It was during the baseball season. It was an 8 a.m.
really
class.
couldn't hide.
No, you couldn't hide. You couldn't hide. And it was like, okay, what do I do? So I made sure every day I went in there, talked to them. It was like usually Thursday. We had games every Thursday. So it's like, I'm going to be missing Thursday. We're going to be on the road. And make sure you hand your assignments in. So I'm missing Thursday, but I'll hand my assignment in Friday. Even though that gave me a little leeway there that I could get it done Thursday night if I needed to. But so it was just, you had a budget. You had to make sure, okay, I still had, during the baseball season, I had to get my lift in for football before baseball. So I grabbed this other guy on the baseball team, so got done with classes. We'd head to the weight room, we'd lift, we'd jump into the batting cage to loosen up. I'd throw about 100 balls to him, and he'd throw 100 to me. We had batting practice, and then we went out to practice.
Wow.
So it was like, I was in heaven. It was like, I never had I never had a weight room that we got to work out in. So
Really?
through those years in college, it was awesome. I went from, you know, I probably stepped on campus about 180 pounds, and, you know, within, you know, by my junior year, you know, I was up to, you know, I was 200 pounds, you know, and that's kind of what I stayed at through my senior year until I got into the NFL, until about my third year in the league. Then I started getting closer to the 210, 215 mark, where I came to Indianapolis. I know you know this guy, my strength coach, Tom Zapanzik, who's a Cathedral guy. And he had a great weight program. And I tell you, if you didn't do what he said, you had nothing to do but get bigger.
Right.
And get stronger and faster and limber. So, you know, that program really helped you out, and it helped keep you safe out on the field. Because, you know, you build yourself up, and it's a long season. And by the time the season got over, I was going to be back down to my kind of normal weight, 205 to 210. But it was nice to start out at 215 because that helped me get through the whole season.
Yeah, that you had a little something behind you. You know, it does matter. Especially since the position you play. Did you play safety, linebacker?
I played safety mostly my whole career. I between strong safety, free safety. When I was in Green Bay, I played, you know, both strong and free. And actually, I got to play basically the linebacker, you know, nickel back and dime back. So I got to do that for a couple of years. But in Green Bay, I had to know every position. So I was kind of the utility man. So wherever they needed me, I was going to go.
I preach that to my players, my position players. The guys that know multiple positions will stay on the football field. They have the best chance of getting on the football field. They have the best chance of getting more playing time, because if you can get plugged in any place, that's a lot of value right there on any team, in any sport.
Oh, definitely. I wouldn't have made it 6 years in Green Bay if I didn't do multiple positions. Because after they brought me up there to start, they ended up drafting a first-round draft pick.
Okay.
And that's never a good thing at your position. You know, when you have one, you know, it's like, okay, how long do I have here? You know, basically, you're thinking, because they're going to get rid of me. You know, they're not going to keep another, you know.
And that motivated you even more.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, you get into the season, all of a sudden, you're in second game in the season, and you get a call from your DB coach saying they want George to start. you've done everything we asked you, but they want George to play. We were basically, I think, 0-2 at the time, 1-2, 1-3, and it was like, oh, okay. You know, I'll learn. You know, I watched that position. I talked to the special team coach. Say, hey, it was Nolan Cromwell at the time. I said, Nolan, you remember? It's like I returned punts before because our punt returner was getting banged up, and they were looking for a replacement. He goes, oh, that's right. I remember seeing some clips on that. Yeah, okay. Start working out, doing that. And I'm figuring I'm not going to have a problem. And then all of a sudden, Robert goes down, and all of a sudden I'm returning punts.
And that Robert is
Robert Brooks.
Robert Brooks. That's right. I think he was number 87, wasn't he?
He was.
He was a fast dude.
He was good. He was skinny too. And I tell you, I always pulled guys. You know, that's why I like to carry a little extra weight. These guys, hamstrings and all these skinny guys, no body fat. It's like, no, I always carried some body fat. That helped me. But no, I just moved around just to help positions. And for me, probably being cooperative and learning more positions, 3 years down the road there, it was like we had a new coordinator come in, Fritz Shermer. I think it was my second year there. He kind of loved it because it was like all of a sudden then we started only keeping 3 safeties on the roster because he knew I could play either position and keep the guys done. I was coming in nickel downs, but I also could play the nickel back, dime back.
So you were Mr. Everything. You were the Swiss Army knife.
So to speak.
Yeah. Well, let's go back a little bit. So you go through your your college career. You're playing 2 sports. At what point, or did you ever start thinking about, I want to play professional ball, either baseball, football, or both?
I guess it probably wasn't until late junior year. It was for football. It was probably during the season. The coaches were talking like, "Hey, you gotta stop screwing up, Mike." Because my junior year was probably where it was kind of going up and down a little bit. It wasn't as consistent or whatever, but and it was more like, you gotta, there's been scouts coming in talking, and it's like, you make tackles, you're not missing many, but they want to see you hit guys. So okay, I'll start trying to hit guys,
Check.
Guys moving around, so that started working. It's like, but usually when, I didn't want to miss a tackle, so I'm just going to make secure. But when you had tackles, you knew you could do it. I wasn't going to launch because that's illegal.
Right.
But you're going to go make some.
Well, back then, you guys, football is way different. Back then, you
could launch, do things. So it was like, okay, you're going to hit more. But usually when you were doing that stuff, you weren't wrapping up.
Right.
You were doing a nice shoulder block to tackle him down or whatever, but you could do a lot of that more on the sideline and things. But so you just made sure I was going to hit and do more that way. Now baseball, the baseball coach was always like, he was always after me saying, you're going to go. Probably after my junior year, he really wanted me to play baseball. He told me stories about football guys, burn their knees out and things. It was like, I said, in my career, I always got hurt more when I played baseball.
Really?
Growing up, I'd seem to have more injuries on the baseball field. And that might have been because during the baseball season, we weren't lifting, we weren't doing things.
You didn't have that maintenance.
But I was probably going into senior year, I didn't think, football was going to be a huge option. I was just going to play. I'm having fun doing it. If that happens, it is. We're getting some scouts come in. My senior year, run 40 times. They'd do things. They'd come out there, and they'd come out during baseball practice, before baseball practice. So my baseball coach wasn't happy with me.
It sounds like. Now, was your football coach the same as your baseball coach? I mean, was he okay with you playing baseball, your football coach? It doesn't sound like your baseball coach was really keen on you playing football.
He was. The football coach, Otolsky, it wasn't until about 5 years ago I asked one of the assistants, because I ran into him at a wedding, and I said, why did Coach O let me play both sports? He thought you'd give up baseball. I said, oh, really? That was my first love.
So he was betting the under.
Yeah, I'm like, so, and, you know, I was playing baseball, and, you know, during the baseball season, I never heard anything from the football coaches. You know, I'd see him, I'd hear from our coordinator, Gus Patches, and time to time, my roommate, McNeilis, who's you know, a local kid who went to Cena High School here, he was my roommate, so it was great getting out of 5 in the morning, you know, running through the bleachers during the off season. So I was like, no, you guys have fun, enjoy. I'm going to go to baseball practice, you know, do this. But it probably wasn't until that senior year, I guess, when scouts were coming in that saying, okay, yeah, maybe I have a chance to play. And, you know, I wasn't sure. And then the draft came in April, so I had to take off a baseball practice.
Okay.
Kind of watched the draft and ended up going in the 7th round. And back then there was 12 rounds.
Okay.
And
That's pretty good.
And so, and I was the 4th pick from the Bucs. So they had 3 guys to go before me, and so I was like, okay.
So you got drafted by Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you in football, and you got drafted by the LA Dodgers in baseball.
In baseball in the 4th round.
Okay.
In that summer.
So what's going through your head at this point? Like, you probably didn't. Well, I don't know. Did you think that was a possibility that I could be sitting here drafted by both professional leagues? Did you think that was like?
I would have never thought of it when I first entered college. I would have never thought of that.
So get into your decision making. What made you make the choice that you made?
Well, there's a lot of different factors. For one, I was planning to get married. I wanted to have a family and kind of settle down. Baseball wasn't really going to offer the settle down part and whatever, and be in a place. It was like if I went baseball, you're going to the minor leagues first no matter what, and then however you're doing or however political, you could see how these clubs are where you're drafted and how quickly they're going to move you up. Or I could try the football route, and which we kind of spoke a little earlier about that. Heck, I'm going to know by Labor Day if I'm on the roster or not. And you figure if you could cut your rookie year, and back then there was a 45-man roster, you didn't have practice squad or anything else. I'm 21 years old. It's like if football doesn't work, then I'll still play baseball. I'll go play baseball, call a scout up and do that. And then if
you say it as a matter of fact. I mean, that is a great option. I mean, how many guys in athletics would love to be like, if it doesn't work with this professional league, I'll just call my agent up and go to the other one. That's pretty impressive.
And it was good. I guess I didn't think of it that way, but it was an option for me. And then I guess if baseball didn't work, then I graduated in 4 years. Right. Which I went there, which I try to tell these kids now. It's like, hey, get your education first. Make sure you graduate. So I graduated. I had business administration, so I figured, well, maybe I'll end up doing something with that, and we'll see what happens. And chose the football route, and it turned out working out.
I would say so.
I had some bumps in the road the first, after my rookie season. Between my second and third season, were kind of thinking, man, maybe I should have played baseball, because my second season with the Bucs, I ended up breaking my wrist third preseason game. They were going to release me after a third preseason game, but they put me on injured reserve, and ended up being on injured reserve for 4 weeks of the season. So I was credited with the season, but then was unemployed the rest of the season, and came to the Colts in '87 and got cut. So in '87, I'm thinking, 23 now, I'll go play baseball. We'll see, and the strike happened. Mm-hmm. And so I came back during the strike games. '87. Yeah. Came back, played the 3 strike games, and then they kept 5 players from the strike team on the roster. And 4 weeks later, I was starting. And I never left the field for 6 years.